Welcome to the Peter Stevens Motorcycles Vic MX Recap Show, presented by Motocred. Peter Stevens Motorcycles have been supporting grassroots racing for 50 years and continue to do so into 2024 with the Peter Stevens Victorian Motocross Championship. Peter Stevens have over 6 locations with Ringwood and Dandenong in the southeast of Melbourne, Geelong and Adelaide, along with the new stores. PS are now in Perth and coming soon to Western Sydney. Stocking all major apparel and parts brands, manufacturers and more, Peter Stevens, everything for the ride. Presented by Motocred, Motocred have over 600 products to suit your bike, from tools, stands, foot pegs, levers, and everything else to bling out your dirt bike. To view the range, visit www.motocred.com.au.
My name's Cooper Danaher, and you're listening to the Peter Stevens Vic MX Recap Show.
There were times I was lost, dark had fear, couldn't see through the rain. In the end it was clear, hit the fan. I was more than one man who was there to lend a hand. Together we'd stand, always at my back, my guardian soldier. Team pulled together, united we conquer. Blessed is he who in the name of charity carry me when I'm weak straight through the valley of darkness. Pitch blackness, the heartless, regardless, fear couldn't part us. Thick and thin, there by my side. At times we collide, but in the end we ride. Thick and thin, there by my side. At times we collide, but in the end we ride. We ride, 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 ride. I am my brother's keeper. Keep on holding strong. United we stand, divided we fall. Together we belong. I am my brother's keeper. Keep on holding strong. United we stand, divided we fall. Together we belong. I am my brother's keeper. I am my brother's keeper. I am my brother's keeper.
Welcome back, Moto fans. This is the Peter Stevens Vic MX Recap Show presented by Motocred. It's available on the Inside Dirt Network and, of course, via Mental for Moto. I'm your host, Pete Wolf. Back to talk about the second round of the juniors this weekend at Korumburra. I have Kenny Watts joining me again on the line. How you going, Kenny?
Yeah, Pete. Good to be back again, mate.
It's good to have you. I got lots of good feedback from the first round podcast having you on, so I thought we might as well do it again.
We could make a habit of this. I enjoy talking.
Definitely, man. It's so much easier when I've got someone to bounce things off as well, and I think it makes for a much better show.
More than happy to come along and join in and give some feedback from the different perspectives than what you see out there too. So.
For sure. And what a weekend of racing it was, man. It was it was pretty busy. We had 270 class entries. We had riders from several states, including Victoria, New South Wales, Tasmania, and South Australia. What were your thoughts about the weekend and the turnout in general?
Mate, we were blessed. The weather was perfect all weekend, and then seeing riders from different states that we've seen at different events. You know, some have been at our first round, some I've seen at Australian junior titles, and some I've seen just at different events itself. So, it was great seeing a different range of riders from all over the place. You know, Tasmania starting to see the benefits in coming over and having racing here. And then, it just seems to be working out well for us at the moment. So,
yeah, it's definitely what you want from a state championship. So it's always good to mix it up with riders from interstate and even get that different perspective. Like when we were doing some of those post-race interviews, just talking to the riders, a lot of them, especially from Tassie and South Australia, had said that they'd never really sort of ridden a track like that we had on the weekend, which was, it was just cool to hear.
Yeah, the track that's possibly one of the best I've seen, that track. I've been there, not a real lot of times, but that was that was a real technical track, and there was Rut City. It looked really good. Look at the photos that the clerk of the course showed me on the Saturday night, and the track had come up amazing in different areas, and it challenges the riders, and it was good.
Yeah, they did a really good job prepping it. We had a little bit of unexpected rain on the Friday night, which I think led to some deeper than expected conditions on the Saturday. But, you know, that's always part of the game, isn't it?
Mate, I camped there. I must sleep heavy. I didn't hear the rain at all. I thought it was just they done a great job watering. So
Yep.
yeah, I usually predict rain if it's going to happen because I claimed that it was my reason for it happening. But yeah, it's a lot of people pitched in and helped get that over the line, which is, for the president, Bosto, that, unfortunately couldn't be there on the weekend. Him and Lynn just have been able to, with the support from surrounding clubs and friends and whatever, they got over the line, and it was an amazing event. It was good.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was talking to a couple of the riders, like the C grade riders and the juniors, on the Sunday afternoon, and they gave me a bit of a perspective that I'd never really thought about with the Vics. And unlike some of the, you look at the Pro Nationals, you've got like pretty much all very high level riders there. So it's something that I wanted to ask you about. What they highlighted was that the track at the Vics, it needs to cater from everyone from 50cc and novice 65cc riders all the way through to like your A-grade junior 250s, a lot of who are also racing MX3 at the national level. So that's definitely got to be a pretty challenging task for the clubs to make a track that's going to suit everyone. What's your sort of perspective on that and your thoughts on that? Because you've had a lot of involvement over the years at both club level all the way through to national level.
Yeah.
How do you make a track that caters for everyone, or do you aim at one end or the other, or do you aim for something in the middle? So what's the sort of goal?
I think the way the Vics has been ran is they cater for the bigger bikes out on track early.
Yep.
And then as the day goes off and the track dries out, well, they're all finished their third race. But like if it's not ugly in practice, it's not going to last when it's that type of track. So it had to be ugly Saturday morning. And in saying ugly, I don't mean it was ugly. It was just, it needed to be wet. It needed to be a bit boggy in places. So then the riders created some great ruts that gives the riders something to, hook that back wheel into and lean her over and get it cracking, So in that side of it, and the littler kids, the smarter ones see the ruts, and if it scares them, well, they sneak up onto the other bits, which it's starting to dry out by that stage and are getting around still good. So, yeah, it's a fine line on when you've only got one class on the Saturdays, like what was that on the weekend? It was the 125s on the Saturday. So that's the biggest class there. And then the girls, the junior girls, a couple of 250s maybe. But, yeah, it's a fine line, but I think the club done a great job with it, to be honest.
I agree, and for how technical and challenging it was, like all the riders seemed to be able to get around, pretty well all through the day, even in the morning when it was, like you said, it was a bit wet and boggy. So from my perspective, I think it was probably the best prepped Outram or Korumburra track that I've ever seen.
Cobram was good.
Yeah, Cobram was.
This one's been good. We just hope that we can continue down that line and continue to have events where the clubs can dictate the conditions of the track and not the weather. So,
100%. And we've been blessed so far with that.
And we have been blessed with it. And like it's only going to get colder, darker, earlier, and everything else. So it really puts the pressure on the clubs to get their track into a good position, like for the Friday night, get it right for Saturday, and then as soon as racing's over, they've got to get back out there and fully redress that track again for Sunday. So.
Yes, definitely no small task.
Sort of work for it at the moment. We're stopping reasonably well, all bar the accidents that stop racing for a bit. But the format sort of caters for us to finish reasonably early and give the clubs time to get their track sorted for the next day, basically. So.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So in terms of your role this weekend, you sort of had a bit of a last minute change. You did something a little bit different this weekend. So tell me about that.
Yeah, well, Nikki Hollyoak, our race secretary, was crook this weekend, so I stepped up because I was the only one left out of our crew that's got a race secretary role ticket. So I jumped in with that and worked in conjunction with Caroline Garlick. Caroline did a great job on the weekend. We worked our way through it. Once timing was up and running and everything seemed to be going well, I went down and helped the boys down on the start line, coordinating getting the kids ready for their next races and things like that. It also worked as a little bit of as a mentoring ship down there on the line too, because we were, talking to the people that were working there and explaining how to alleviate some of the hard work that they were doing, because just an example that they had 3 start chutes and the riders were lining up in there, and he wanted to check all their transponders. We've got this little tester that you just point at it and it vibrates in your hand to tell you that the transponder's working. So he was working his way through the whole crowd of all the riders lining up for the first practice session. I said, no, mate, we've got to make this a lot easier for you. When we think we've got enough riders here, we'll just drag them out into a line forward of the start chutes.
Yep.
You can just walk along in one easy line, test the transponders. Once the bloke that actually lets them off is ready to accept them, we just send them down to them, and he goes, oh, that's a lot easier. So we helped them out a little bit down there. I also done a few things in some things that was sort of sneaking in a little bit on the line, just telling them, no, you can't be doing that, and just trying to make it fair and even for everyone. You know, we insist that the rider actually fix his own gate.
Oh, yeah.
And then the parents don't actually go to that. They stay back in the area, start chute area with the bikes, and wait till all the riders have picked their gates. So there's no parent sort of standing in the road, a little Johnny that wants to take the gate next to Pete Wolf because Pete Wolf's his me legend and I want to start next to him. But the dad stands in the road and sort of intimidates. So you just sort of stop that. So every rider picks their own gate and there's no parent involvement, and then we let the parents go out and
Oh, nice. You mentioned when we spoke a little bit earlier too, the parents were getting a little bit more involved in some other ways as well. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, like there was one dad that just thought, you know, it was the start gate was a little bit wet and muddy and that, so he thought he'd get on the bike and do a wheelie and dry the line out and doing a burnout on the line, trying to get some rubber down on the start gate. Well, you know, that's a no-no, so I had to ask him to stop doing that. And then I looked at the gate that he had just prepped and it looked so good. And I thought, well, that's not fair to the kids next to him. So I just asked him to move up a couple more and start again. And there's no parent involvement on the bike in there. And he just, come over later on and apologised. I just explained to him, like, if that bike had actually gripped and flipped him over, he didn't have a helmet on.
Yeah.
And at the back of that start gate's a steel bar that he could have hit his head on, and you never know what the outcome could be.
Yeah.
You know, Shoemaker fell over and we haven't seen him since. So, you know, just got to be real careful about that sort of stuff. So,
So it's a safety thing. It's a competition thing. And I guess some of these little things probably, we're taking a step up here with it being a state championship. Some of these things probably sneak in from the local level and the regional level a little bit as well. And again,
I also had to tell a few parents that, you know, their other kids are not allowed to be in that area. It's only the rider and somebody over the age of 16 that should be in that area with them, and that's it. Yep. No one else. So just a couple of times saying, sorry, mate, you're not allowed to in here. A couple of times it was like, nah, look, serious. You're a rider. You've listened to the riders' briefing. And so riders will go down there and sit with their mates, you know, and you just got to say, well, can't do that either.
Yeah.
Just fair and even is the old saying, you know.
Yeah.
So if you've got 4 of your mates hanging around you, well, the other kid that's got no mates still sort of doesn't feel that's fair. So.
Yeah. And look, there's no malice in it. I'm sure the listeners will understand that. It's, they're just the rules and they're there for a reason. And I mean, this is a good forum to be able to discuss some of those things as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, otherwise, like, great day. Just talking to everybody. Everyone was really positive about the way round one went, about the exposure that the podcast gave them and gave the sport. Just talking about that.
Yep.
They all said I talk a lot. They said, I've listened to you, Kenny, you're talking a lot. But anyway, it was a really good weekend, Pete.
No, I agree. I've had lots of good positive feedback about the podcast, about the social media content that we've put out from the Vics, from the podium interviews to the rider interviews. And, you and I were talking about that on the weekend as well. So far we've done the A grade classes for the podium interviews, and the next time around we'll do the B grade, and then the round after that we'll do the C grade. So everyone will get a chance to talk to the camera and get some exposure on social media as well.
Yeah, I've tagged in so many things today. It's not funny. Like, it keeps coming up, and you're tagged in someone else's thing because his mate's on it or whatever. And I've been tagged everywhere today, which is good for them that they're giving their mates the opportunity to see it and whatever else, and their sponsors, you know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in this sport that rely heavily on getting a little bit of help, and this is their opportunity to thank. There was one kid on the weekend that I was really impressed with his speech. It was a young Toby Garwood out of Tasmania.
Yep.
He thanked mum and dad, nan and pop. He went through the family, and then a few people had helped him. So, you know, nan and pop probably help out big time with chucking a bit of money in to help get him over to racing Victoria and things like that. But that was pretty cool, listening to him thank his grandparents and everything else. So.
Yeah, he stood out for me as well, and he spoke really well, really clearly. So it was good to see. I think it's a good opportunity for all the kids to sort of cut their teeth and learn those skills. And the best way to get better at it is just to do it over and over and over again.
Yeah, yeah. So I actually met him at Darwin for the Australian Junior Motocross titles in Darwin, and him and young Kade, the pros out of Tasmania, they pulled in and raced the Western region on their way home.
Yep.
So that's where I met them, and they rang me up and asked if I could get them in, and which is not a problem. We don't want to turn anyway away from racing, so helped them out and got them racing, and it was good. It's
pretty cool. It blows me away at the distances some of these families cover to follow the racing circuit around Australia. It's pretty cool, like especially at an amateur level.
We had a rider from Darwin flew down. He's got a motorbike sitting in a container at his grandparents' place in Colac, and flew down from Darwin and raced.
Yeah,
I forgot about him. Yeah, that was young Banjo Williamson. Yeah, this weekend he was there. Yeah.
What class was he racing?
A grade 125. He was running bike number 124.
Yep.
So.
Oh, well, there's another state to
he
to the
actually raced for Victoria last year from Darwin. Well, his dad's originally from Colac. They moved to Darwin. They moved home to Colac and raced last year, and then ended up being selected for the Victorian team. And he went and raced up in Darwin against his old mates that he used to race with in Darwin all the time. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, on that note, let's talk about some of the racing from this weekend. I've basically just listed out the classes. So we'll start with the little guys, and we'll finish with the big guys. And then I've got some riders to interview after that. So, we'll keep you on for probably another 20 minutes or so and go through the classes.
Not a problem.
Have a chat to the riders. So, we'll start with the Div 2 50cc class. Given the track conditions, I thought these kids were going to struggle a lot, but I think, especially in the morning, they were the only class that got through the first corner without a big pile up when it was still deep and wet. So that was pretty amazing. There's some awesome little riders in this class, isn't there?
Yeah, they've been hanging out to turn 7, to be honest, a lot of them.
Yep.
And it's like just getting to the point now where we're getting to see a massive crew of little kids coming through that have been introduced into riding bikes basically from that COVID. I don't like to mention COVID, but that's when they sort of grabbed the bike and got into it a little bit, and that's that crew coming through now. So
yeah,
they are good to watch. Oh
yeah, for sure. And there's some unreal little riders and unreal personalities in that group too. We've got Max Leghieri, Tyler Phillips, Trey de Groot, Parks Cranett. I'll get it right this time. Isaiah Filipovic, Parker Matthews. There's some really outspoken and well-spoken kids in this group as well.
Yeah, Isaiah done his he podiumed round 1 and was up speaking on the weekend.
Yep.
And there's no mobile phone, there's no written note. He just reeled off a massive collection of sponsors that helped him out. It was impressive listening to him, to be honest. So.
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to the outlets that these riders are starting to get and the exposure that these riders are starting to get that might be missing from some of those older classes that they didn't have, at such a young age.
Yeah.
Having these opportunities to be able to talk and get up on the podium and talk to a camera as well. I think it's really gonna be good for the sport, in terms of exposure over the years to come.
Yeah, it's just good seeing the kids out there having a go, and they're probably keener than the parents are. To be honest, they are. 100 mile an hour to take their gate. They run over and out comes the broom and things like that I noticed on the weekend down at the start line. Yeah, they're early. They're sitting there waiting for their race, and there's still 4 races to go. You're thinking,
man, I wish I had that much energy.
Well, they don't seem to waste much because they just come down early and sit there and be part of the action down on the start gate area, and you just got to ask them to move back that little bit to let the other bikes go through for their gate selection and things like that. And when you call them in, and they all come up to the bloke that was reading the numbers out. He'd read out 811, and Isaiah would go running up to get a gate. And unfortunately, that's the only number I can remember off the top of my head. 628, and there was all others. But, yeah, they're keen. That's good.
Yeah. All right, so the next class I've got on the list is the junior girls class. This is starting to become a real showdown now between Emily Lambert and Tegan Wilkin-Tom. Kade to Pros finished third for the weekend, but those first two girls, so they swapped the lead several times. But this weekend it was really Emily Lambert that lifted her game. What did you think about this class?
Yeah, look, the girls was awesome to watch. I reckon there was one of the media blokes questioned whether Tegan was racing a 250 or 450 because it just had a throaty sound to it, didn't it, Pete?
It did indeed. It did indeed. Yeah.
But now Emily Lambert's back she had a little bit of a shoulder injury coming into the season, so that hammered her a little bit. But she's got some new sponsors on board and things like that, and yeah, she races with the boys too in A grade.
Yep.
So when she's out there with Tegan and that, she's a very quiet girl. But when you get her out on the motorbike track when things don't go right, I'd love to be listening to what she's saying in the helmet because that's probably the time she's yelling at herself or whatever. But she's actually raced in round 1 of the Australian Women's Motocross Championships and sits inside the top 10. So that gives you a little bit of an understanding of where she sits when everything can go right.
So how long is it going to be till she ends up stepping up to the senior women's class?
You have to be 15 to race in the Australian Women's Motocross titles. So I'm not sure if she's turned 15 this year or she turned 15 late last year. So.
Yeah.
But she was 15 before the first round of the Pro MX Nationals at Wonthaggi. So
yeah, so Tegan raced there. She did the first round.
Yeah, I think Tegan's younger than Emily though.
Oh, okay, yep. Oh, it's interesting.
One rider that I did see she had a few little issues and she was right up there at round 1 was young Keely Scott. Like her background, she's from New Zealand. So moved over here and
it's going to be. I think the way that the track formed up definitely is going to make the championship interesting because there was riders that did really, really well at round 1 that didn't gel so well with the technical conditions. But I think that makes for a great championship.
Yeah, we head off to Winton for the next round, which will probably be the hardest packed track that they'll get to ride. And then off to Colac for the final round before they start training more for sand for Bunbury.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's they'll definitely get that whole mix and range of conditions. Moving on to the 65cc A grade class, another strong rivalry. It was Mason Ezagalis and Lewis J. Carafa, so that continued again this weekend.
Yeah, it was Mason's turn to have a day out. Both of them are really good riders, and it's just one little mistake and the other one jumps on it and runs away with it. So
yeah.
I still think that they are the form kids in Australia. When they go up into Queensland and places like that, they're right up there mixing it with the others straight away. And they both spoke well. And even it was young
Riley Mullen. So he is
Mullen, not Mullen. Yeah, he's out of South Australia, so he's come over now and had a ride. He enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, and he mentioned as well. So he was one of the kids that mentioned that they don't get conditions like that over in South Australia.
He can keep coming back if he likes. He's welcome.
He really enjoyed it. Talking to him. So there seems to be a lot of overlap between the 65cc and the small wheel 85cc class. And again,
that's as you see them, Pete, when they get graded off a 65, they also take that grading through to the 85 small wheel. And then they start, because most of them will hang on a 50, probably some of them maybe a year longer than they needed to, and some aren't big enough to go on to the 65 early enough. So, they're 9s and 10s and 11-year-olds that have been graded. So that's where you see them doing the double duties and racing the 85 small wheels also.
So we had New South Welshman Brax Pollard. He took out the 65cc B grade class. In the C grade class, a rider that we'll have on the podcast a little bit later for an interview, Willy Orders. So he took out the C grade class. He runs second in the championship behind Harley Dunlop. So they're both good little riders as well, aren't they?
Is he sponsored by City MX? I reckon he trains with that Zane's Hoe House.
Yeah, they both.
Yep. Pretty close. So.
Yeah, they both train and their families are, they're always hanging out together.
Yeah, so that you see that, and once you get to ride around and you're following what Zane's doing, it's only going to make young Willie a good little rider himself, So.
Oh, for sure, and he doesn't mind a chat either. He's a good little talker. So that's why I thought I'll get him on the podcast.
I'll be keen to hear what he says. So
yeah. He also took out the 85cc small wheel C grade class, and he leads the championship. I think he's only dropped one race so far, so he's been pretty dominant in that little class.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, yep. In 85cc B grade small wheel, Callum Smith leads the championship. He got a third place at round 2 behind Brax Pollard. And local kid Billy Rickus finished third for round 2, so that's a really good finish for Billy.
Yeah, I watched one of his races actually, and he was on a bit of a mission there. So that Willy Ruckus, I was watching it. Wow, check this out. He was right up there running with the A-grade riders. So to finish second, he must have had, or the race I watched might have been his best one for the day. So
no, he was on rails. So I raced against his dad in the vet class, and they're out from East Gippsland. But, he does all the Gippsland races. So, I've seen him around quite a lot. And I think that was probably the best I've seen him ride. So, that was a great effort.
Yeah, I've seen him when he was younger on a 50 and that. So, seeing him stepping up into the bigger bikes, good to see that progressive keep going,
In the 85 big wheels, A-grade Coop Dog, Cooper Danaher, he does it again. But he didn't
really. He's good, isn't he?
Yeah, but he didn't have it as easy this time. Riley Delaney and Toby Garwood, as we already mentioned, they both put up a good challenge. With Riley even leading some laps. I think it was in the second moto.
Yeah, and see, we haven't seen Riley for a bit. He didn't have a real good round at round 1, but he's a good little rider. He's had a few injuries and things like that. So once he gets it going again, it'd be good seeing Riley back up and going again. So.
Yeah, and he certainly didn't want to give up the lead when he was in front. He was laying down some laps.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I'm pity I was stuck on the start gate most of the day, so I missed a lot of the racing, which is unfortunate.
Oh, that class was I think when those two were going at it, that was some of the best racing of the day.
Yeah, some great racing that I've seen in that last round of racing anyway.
Oh, in the 85 big wheel B grade, RJ Penny. He takes a win. He went 1-1-1 for the weekend. So that's
Yeah, so is he Tasmanian? I've seen him racing. He supports the Vics regularly. But
he's a Tasmanian, yep.
Yeah, so he's been over several times now. So
that's
he's a good little rider.
Yeah, that's a really good finish. In the 85cc big wheel class C grade, Kade Beane. He also went 1-1-1. And talking to him on the weekend, that was his first ever, in his words, proper win at the Vics. I don't know what that means, but I'll ask him later when he comes on the podcast.
Well, the writing for the results was a little bit fine print, and I didn't know if his last name was Dean or Beane, so I needed correcting on that. But, that's good to be doing that because there's some good riders in these classes that these kids are winning against. So
Yeah, and he's a well-spoken young lad. So, I'm looking forward to doing an interview with him. So he won that over Oscar Pretlove and Nate Boyd. And with a second at round 1, Kade now leads the championship over Cody Everett as well. Cody had a bit of a rough weekend in that class, but he's still second in the championship, which is good.
I think he finished 4th in the 85s. He had a good round 1.
Yep, he definitely had a good round 1. Moving on to the 125 A grade. Again, there's some absolute warriors in this class, and I love watching the battles. I think again this is another one of the highlights for the spectators. So between Job Dunn, Seb Bartlett, Jesse Kolb, and Memphis. But yeah, Job Dunn and Seb and Jesse, they seem to be the leaders in this class at the moment. They're putting in some great performances.
Yeah, so you've got to put into perspective Job Dunn's. He had been off the bike since the Horsham Pro X Nationals, where his bike tried to attack me. I was at the finish line, and I knew there was 3 bikes left to go around, and I just seemed to look over and see Job hit the ground, and I looked up to see this Yamaha coming straight at me, and it must know I've got a little bit of a bias to the Honda, so it was attacking me, and I just got out of the road in time. But yeah, he was pretty sorry and sore after that, and I think he's just been on the bike a week and a half or 2 weeks or something in the lead up to this. So
yeah, that was a big one. But he's only young too. I think is he only 13 or 14?
He's the baby of the class. I think he started like 125 at the end of last year, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've lined him up to come on the podcast after the 3rd round, so we'll get to have a chat with him then.
Again, Seb Bartlett, he's just unreal, isn't he, on that 125?
Yeah,
he's having a series, isn't he? So,
yeah, and I think he seems to get better with each round and every moto. He just keeps lifting his game. Just when you think he couldn't get any better, he just he steps it up every time he's out on track.
I watched the last race, and he was sitting, say, in 2nd at the time.
Yep.
And there was 2 big jumps down the back, and as he landed the first of the jumps, he just accelerated and he monoed. Like, you could just see he was on a mission. He monoed all the way to the next one, put it down, hit the next jump, and then it wasn't long after that, and he got passed into first place. So
yeah. So
I was like, ooh, Seb's on a mission here. Look at that. He's just monoed all the way and accelerating away from the others as he was doing it. So he didn't back off. He was comfortable with that front wheel up in the air. So.
No, there's some really, really good riders in that group, and a lot of them do race the MX3 class on the national circuit as well. So in the 250s, obviously. So like with the 65s and 85 small wheel, there's a lot of overlap between the 125s and the 250 class at the juniors. So we'll see a lot of the same riders sort of competing across both classes.
And some of them are starting to the 85s are stepping up into that 125 class.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big step up, isn't it?
They'll drop the 85 and just focus on the 250 and 125 if their parents can afford it.
Yeah, that's a big step up though in terms of the level of competition between the 85s and the 125s.
Yeah, so the grading side of things, actually, once you get graded, you might get graded on the 65 and you maintain your grading until you turn senior.
Yeah.
So if you don't continue to improve with the form that got you graded in the first place, if you don't continue to grow and get confident on the bike going into the next size bike, it can make it struggle city for you going on to them bigger bikes, and sometimes pride may need to come into the place and just go, look, it's just not happening, and I need to go back one grade and regain that confidence that seen me get graded in the first place. And other kids, they grab it and run with it, so.
I've noticed that a lot when the riders go from riding the 2-stroke to the 4-stroke as well. Some of them do definitely struggle to adapt, where they might be leading in the 125s or up the pointy end. They're further back against the same kids or the same riders once they step up to the 250.
Yeah, and that 250, like, it's something that you don't over rev, because as soon as you over rev it, the horsepower drops off. Where if you can get it right, you just go up that other gear where you would be waiting for the revs of the 2-stroke. They're not the revs you want on your 4-stroke. You just want to be hitting the meat of the power and going up another gear and keep going. So
using that torque. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just quickly, because we don't want this podcast to be going on too long. So 125 B grade, Ryder Favaloro, RJ Penny and Zach Smith, 123 in the 125 B grade class. 125.
Yeah, Ryder's having a good season too.
Yeah, he is, and he's doing well in the 250, like we sort of just mentioned, that overlap.
Yeah, it's sponsored by Elliott Brothers, one of the series sponsors that looks after the June 250 class. So
yep. Jimmy Farah, he's up there as well. He had a rough round at the second round at Korumburra with a 12th in Moto 2, but he still leads the championship over Zach Smith and Ryder Fav as well.
That's about a big one. So young Zach Smith, he had bike issues on Sunday too, with his 250. So if his name's missing, that's why he couldn't get it to start on the line. And it was actually a sticky kill switch.
Oh yeah. Yep, that can be a bugger to diagnose too.
Race, so he didn't even get to start.
In the 125 C grade class, it was the Zane Hohouse show again, as you said, the City MX rider.
He's just come in late last year, or else he'd be sitting in B grade. So.
Yeah, so that's 6 straight moto wins for him. Cooper White in second, Cody Everett in third, so that's a great finish for Cody.
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
Yep, over from South Australia. In the 250 C grade, a similar story. Zane, he took the win again. Cooper White and Ryder Nickel, who is the Better by Dirt rider, he finished up in third for the weekend.
Yes.
250B, same sort of names as the 125B grade. Ryder Fav, Archie Hyde and Jimmy Farah. Ryder leads the championship in that class.
That's a rider that I'm happy to hear that with Archie Hyde.
Yeah.
Had some big crashes and was an A-grade rider, had some really big crashes.
But he's back now.
A conversation between his parents and myself, just he needed to go back and regain some confidence. He just had no confidence at all. And to see him have a podium at a Vic title in B-grade, that's awesome. So well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really good.
When they have some crashes, the younger riders, the confidence or the impact on their confidence really plays a big factor in their results and their ability to ride consistently, doesn't it?
Yeah, and for some kids, that crash may come as they're having a growth spurt. So not only are they not on the bike, but they're also having that growth spurt, and then all of a sudden they've got to catch up on two things: the lack of bike time and also the lack of fitness that they lost while they were out injured, and then trying to put that together with the growth and everything else. It just makes it hard, but that's motocross.
It is. It's teaches a lot of life lessons that you can carry on to every other part of your life as well.
Yeah.
250 A grade, rider we've already spoken about, Seb Bartlett. So he takes the win. Yep. Awesome ride. He now has a 3-point lead in the championship over second place getter Jesse Kolb. And Job Dunn rounds out the podium in third on the weekend with Memphis, Trevena and Noah James in fifth. South Aussie Kai Little, he sits fourth place in the championship. He had a bit of a rough one. He's over from South Australia. Yeah,
I actually met his dad on the weekend and had a bit of a yak to the dad, and they're enjoying it.
Yeah.
They ride under a little bit of support from Brett Metcalf's Go 2014.
Yes.
So they're having a bit of fun with that and everything else. So, yeah, it's real good.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how that class sort of pans out over the next couple of rounds, because there's some some close battles, and Job Dunn in third in the championship. He's not that far behind, so I think he's got the ability to definitely catch up to those two if he can have keep it off the ground and get back to full health.
Yeah, it's very hard, isn't it? When you put it down and then you've got to try and catch up the points. So just one little thing that I thought that happened to me on the weekend, I thought this is something that I really probably should not negatively do it, but I had to penalise a few riders that snuck over to the spectator area on their bikes.
Oh yeah.
So I caught two doing it, like riding their bike over and into the spectator area, and I had to go over and talk to them. Gave them the remainder of that day. Was to push their bikes. If I'd seen them riding their bikes again away from the actual racetrack, we would have asked them to leave and go home. But I talked to one dad about it, and I jokingly said, I had to fine him $200, and the dad goes, "Are you serious?" I said, "No, $200 wouldn't do anything to him.
Yeah.
It would hurt you in your pocket, but it wouldn't hurt him. So what I've done is I've made him push his bike for the remainder of the weekend for the day.
Yes.
So he learns. And then Dad said, thanks, Kenny. And the kid come over and apologised and everything else and realised what he'd done wrong.
So was that the spectator area alongside the rollers there?
Yeah. They just, I don't know if they do it at club days. And,
I was about to say.
Where it come from, so.
Yeah, I think that's, I've seen that a few times on club days and probably even the Gippies. I think the local riders tend to do it more than anyone.
Yeah, we just got to, we don't want, there's little kids in there that we're trying to keep the little kids away from the start chutes where the bikes are starting to get hot.
Yep.
And the exhaust are starting to get hot. So now
they
go over to where the spectators are. So.
Yeah, see, on RPA days, you don't get spectators in there, but that's where they take the riders to get onto the track. So you'll queue up in that. Basically, it's a chute where, at events, the spectators stand. But, on RPA days, the riders go down there. So I think they probably forget a little bit that during events, it's a no-riding area.
Yeah, So otherwise, we had a great weekend. 2 blemishes and that were, pretty little.
Yeah, yep.
In the overall scheme of things. But we just continue our merry way, having a great little series going. And I honestly don't believe a rider was taken away from the venue. There was a few riders taken into the medic centre.
Yep.
And our medics looked after them and whatever. But I don't believe there was a medic taken from the track. There was an ambulance called, and then I don't think they ended up taking him, which is good for the club and good for us and good for the kids because they're all probably a little bit sore, but they'll be all good and ready to go for the next round.
Yeah,
bring on round 3 at Whitby.
Most definitely. Well, it's been awesome having you back on the podcast, Kenny. I'm going to move on because I've got to call these riders in. I'm a little bit overdue for the first interview, so.
I told you I saw.
No, it's
thanks again to you and Peter Stevens and Moto Cred and Inside Dirt for bringing this to the Vics, and we'll see you at round 3.
It sounds good. Thanks heaps, Kenny. I really enjoyed chatting to you again.
No worries. Thanks, mate. See ya.
Thanks, Kenny. See you, mate. Okay, so it's time to chat to some of the riders who raced at round 2 of the Peter Stevens Victorian Junior Motocross Championship at Korumburra last weekend. As I mentioned in our first recap show, we'll be mixing it up and we'll be inviting riders of all levels to come on the show throughout the course of the series. So for this episode, I'll be chatting to a couple of riders who are fairly early in their racing careers and one rider for whom it was his first ever time racing the Victorian Motocross Championship. And then for my last guest for this episode, I'll be chatting to a racer who is competing in the 125 and 250 A grade class in what will be his last year as a junior. So the first rider I'll be speaking to today is Willy Orders. Okay, my first rider on the line tonight for the Peter Stevens Vic MX Recap show is Willy Orders. How are you going, Willy?
Good, not too bad.
Oh, that's good, mate. So to get started for the listeners, mate, how old are you and whereabouts are you from?
From Point Cook, and I'm 11 years old.
Yep, and what classes do you race?
65 and 85.
Yep, so in the C grade class?
Yeah.
Yep, and how long have you been racing for?
I've been racing for just over a year now.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, you're definitely doing all right. So where's your local track?
City MX Melbourne.
Yep, so you do a little bit of riding out there. I think you ride with Zane Hohouse out there, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so how often do you get out there for a ride?
Probably once or twice a week.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you get to go out there midweek as well?
Sometimes.
Yeah, so you're getting a little bit of bike time in?
Yeah, on Thursday and sometimes Monday.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm jealous. I wish I could ride during the week. So how'd you get into motocross?
Probably Mum and Dad.
Yeah, so does your dad ride as well or your mum ride?
Dad used to ride. Mum, just the family's just a motorsport family.
Oh, yeah, so they love motorsport and that's how you got into motocross?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about your weekend. So you raced 2 classes. You raced the 65 C grade class, so we'll start with that one. Tell me about that one.
Yeah, I had a pretty good battle with Harley Dunlop in the first race, and it was fun, and I ended up getting the overall.
Yep. So what were your race results?
I think it was 1-2-1, 1-1-2.
Yeah. Yep, I think we spoke about that one after the finish. You're a bit bit frustrated that you didn't get the win in that last race, weren't you?
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah. So why is that? You just like to win?
Yeah, just competitive.
Yep. Oh, that's cool. Where do you get that from? You get that from your mum or your dad?
Probably Dad more.
Yeah, and you also raced the 85 small wheel class. Tell me a bit about that one.
Yeah, I had some pretty good battles with Darcy Wheeler and all the boys.
Yep.
I ended up getting 3-1-1
Oh,
overall. But
yeah, so you took the
pretty
win
fun
overall.
weekend.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So what do you think about the track? It got pretty technical. Is that sort of what you used to riding, or was that something a little bit different?
It was a bit different.
Yeah.
Not really used to riding those kind of rides. Oh, well.
Yep.
Like, it's good practice.
It definitely is good practice. But so how do you adapt? Because I think City MX doesn't sort of get very ruddy, does it?
Depends who's there, and like if there's like Oatsy and like all those quick guys are there training, then it gets pretty ruddy.
Yep.
And like it depends how it's prepped, kind of.
Yeah, if they rip it and put a bit of water into it.
It gets not as ruddy as that, but it still gets some ruts in it.
Yeah. So out of the two classes, what's your favourite class to race?
Probably on that weekend, I'd say the 65 because it's more like lower to the ground and more balanced.
Yeah. So you find that a little bit easier?
A little bit easier, yeah, when it's technical.
Yeah.
But when it's a fast track, I kind of like the 85 a bit better.
Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. So what are your thoughts on the tracks we've raced so far, being Korumburra and Korumburra? Which of those two were your favourite rounds and why?
I kind of like Korumburra more because it's got some more like jumps and it was fun.
So you prefer jumping over sort of technical tracks?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's going to be interesting. I think the next one we're going to is Winton, so that's more of a hard pack track. So
yeah.
Yeah. Have you ridden up there before?
Oh, yeah, I've ridden there once for the Northern. Oh, no, twice. One for a practice day and one for the Northern.
Yeah, and what do you think of that track?
Oh, yeah, it's a fast track. Harley's quick there, so he's going to be hard to beat.
Yeah.
But, yeah, other than that, it's a fun track.
Oh, well, it'd be good to see you have a little bit of competition between you two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like battling, or do you prefer to be just out in front with a clear lead?
I prefer just to be out in front with a clear lead.
I bet. And do you have any ambitions when it comes to racing motocross? Is it something that you want to keep doing? And do you hope to race Pro MX one day?
I hope to go pro one day and just ride for a factory team.
Oh, that would be pretty awesome. Well,
yeah.
It's been great having you on the line for a chat, mate. Before we go, is there anyone that you would like to thank?
I'd like to thank Mum, Dad, City MX, Ultra P Road Ready, On Point Suspension, Panther Race Fuels, and MVMX.
No, awesome. I think you've been through them before. You kind of, they just roll off the tongue, don't they?
Yeah, kind of.
Well, it's been awesome having you on the line, mate, and I really look forward to chatting with you again at round 3.
Yeah, you too.
No, thanks, Willy.
Thank you.
My second rider on the line tonight is Nayt Duggan. How you going, Nate?
Yeah, good yourself.
Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. It was a big weekend, so I'm still recovering a bit, I think.
Yeah, it was a pretty rough day for the first round.
Yeah, I think you guys did a lot more work than I did, but I definitely covered a few kilometres. I keep track on my watch, and I did 25 kilometres over the 2 days, so I covered nearly as much ground as you guys, I think.
Oh, you'd be pretty sore after that, I think.
Yeah, just get tired, very tired. So this was your first ever Vic titles, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
It probably wasn't as bad as Yippie's as I thought it was, but it wasn't. It was all right, actually.
Yep. So
pretty tough day.
Yeah, it was a tough day. It was a very technical track. I think talking to some of the riders that have raced the Vics before, it's probably this year has been as technical at the junior rounds as we've ever had, which is really good.
Yeah, it was. At least it wasn't raining this time, like the last Yippie's race, but that's what I was happy about. But it was still pretty hard as well riding.
Yep. So for the listeners, how old are you and what classes did you race this weekend?
I'm 13. I raced C grade big wheel 85.
Yep. And what did you think of the track? Like we already said, it got pretty technical, didn't it?
It was pretty good, just really ruddy, which I probably need to work on a bit more. But other than that, it was actually pretty good. It was dry, which is pretty good.
Yep. So tell me a little bit about your races in a bit more detail about your motos.
Oh, it was more tiring when I fell off because I had to pick the bike up and I was trying to get it started, and I'm short, so I couldn't really reach it easy. But when I was riding, I didn't really get any tired or anything. It was pretty chilled, just sort of tough day with all the ruts and everything.
Yep. So I assume you probably haven't ridden a track that ruddy before. How did you sort of tackle it? Did you were you trying to go as fast as you could, or were you just trying to stay upright, or what was your sort of game plan?
Probably try to go as fast as I probably could, maybe a little bit slower, but I was trying to just probably stay upright more, just trying to get through and make it through.
And did you have a goal coming into the weekend?
Well, winning, but there's a lot of fast kids, and I reckon the goal is just probably to get through it for that.
Yeah. And so how did you pull up by the end of the day, sort of looking back on the whole weekend? What were your thoughts about the Vics compared to other races that you've done?
Probably it's more competitive, a lot more people, but there's a lot of fast and slow kids, so it wasn't really as bad as I was expecting.
Yep.
And I wasn't really tired. It was just sort of chilled a bit afterwards, but a little bit sore.
Yep. So what do you do? How do you stay fit, and how often do you get out on the bike in between?
Every weekend, sometimes during the week if there's like a day off or something, but usually exercises every day and riding mountain bike pretty much every night. Yep.
Because that sort of track, it looked to me like it would have been pretty draining, but you've said a few times that you didn't really get tired. So, what do you do for exercise off the bike?
I did arms for a while, but I'm doing core workouts with Russian twists and push-ups and everything.
Oh, wow. That sounds pretty full on.
Yeah, some of it's pretty hard.
Yeah. So who does that with you? Does your dad get stuck into that as well?
No, he's at work, but he does push-ups and stuff, but I get my mum to do it usually every day with me.
Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool. So what are your sort of goals? Are you going to do any of the other rounds of the Vics moving forward, or are you just sort of testing it out for this one?
I might, but I'm pretty sure it's testing it out, but I think it'll be my last race this Skippies at Bairnsdale for a bit.
So you'll be racing the Gippies on this weekend?
Yep, that will be, yeah.
Oh, awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you there as well.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah. Before we wrap up this interview, is there anyone you'd like to thank?
My mum, my dad, and my sponsors, Bolt, Triple MX, Kickstart, and Hands On Kawasaki.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Nate. It's been great to have you on and
thank you for having me.
No, it's my pleasure, and it was great to get the perspective of someone who's raced the Vics for the first time. That's why I wanted to get you on. So a lot of the other riders have been racing the Vics for a long, long time. So no, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, my next rider on the line is Kade Beane. Kade, how are you going, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Pete.
That's good. It's great to have you on the podcast. For the listeners, how old are you and whereabouts are you from?
I'm 14 years old and I'm from Bairnsdale, Victoria.
Oh yeah, out in East Gippsland. So we've got a Gippy out your way this weekend.
Home track this weekend.
Oh, nice. I'll have to hit you up for some tips.
Yeah.
So what classes did you race at the Vics at Korumburra on the weekend?
125 C grade and 85 big wheel C grade.
Oh yeah. So talk me through your weekend a little bit. How'd you go?
125 was good. I went 2, 5, and I think 7th.
Yep.
I had no tip overs in the first one, but the second one, I was making a pass. I had like a bit of a bad start, and I just ran over someone's bike and kind of went over bars. And then in the last one, I came from third last to fourth or third.
Oh, wow.
And last lap crashed and got 7th.
Yeah. It was there was a lot of tip overs all day, especially on the Saturday.
Yeah, I reckon the Saturday was harder than the Sunday for me.
Yeah.
I just found it a bit harder on the 125 for some reason.
Yeah. Would that have been the most technical track that you've ridden so far?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Other than maybe AMX at one thaggy. That was pretty technical.
Oh, yeah. But that's one thaggy. One thaggy's always technical.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you raced the 85 on the Sunday. How'd you go on the 85?
Oh, I felt really good. I went 1-1-1, and I think the second place rider was 30 seconds behind me each moto.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think you said to me, was that your first win at the Vics as well?
Yeah.
Yep. So you got a second at round one, or second overall at round one, and then
so I got a second and then first this on the weekend.
Yep. So what do you think made the difference?
I don't really know. I'm not a very big fan of that track usually. I've just been training really hard and trying to get better every day.
Yeah.
And I think it's paid off a bit.
Yep. So you normally ride out at Bairnsdale. Do you ride during the week as well? How often do you get out?
I don't get out very much on the bike. Maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I usually just do a lot of off-bike training, a lot of cardio, and go to the gym and stuff, try and get as fit as possible.
Yeah. So what sort of stuff do you actually do?
I do a bit of boxing for fitness. And then just whenever I got a bit of free time, I'll jump on the treadmill, go for a run, and just try and keep moving.
Yeah, you sound like you're pretty disciplined. That's fairly rare for someone of your age.
Yeah, I just want to get better.
You told me on the Sunday that you really like racing the 85 at the moment. Why is that? Like, what are you liking about the 85?
Oh, it's just fun, and I can throw it around a bit better.
Yeah,
I feel like I just can corner it a bit, even though I'm like really big on it. I wasn't even supposed to race it this year.
Yeah, okay.
The only reason I'm actually racing is because we didn't get to sell it. Like, we tried to sell it and no one wanted to buy it.
Yeah, the market's pretty slow at the moment. I've got a few bikes to sell, so
yeah. And we just thought might as well just get it done up. We had a fresh top and bottom rebuild for the year.
Yep.
Knew everything pretty much, and just said, put some numbers on it, some new stickers and plastics, and we'll race it again, see how we go.
Well, you're obviously doing super well at the Vics. How long have you been racing for?
I've been riding for 2 years.
Yep.
And last year was my first year of racing. And then, I've just sort of tried to get into it as much as I can this year.
Yeah. So what races have you done? Have you just done mostly local and regional races? Is this your first time doing the Vics, or your first year doing the Vics?
I just did Gippies last year, and then the final round of the Vics last year at Trevena.
Yeah.
Just to get just see what it was like, because I was pretty new to it at the start of last year, and we didn't get to do the rounds, and it was just sort of to get me ready for this year.
Oh, nice. And so what is it about racing that you love?
Oh, I just love it because it's different.
Yeah.
Not many people around here, like where I live, do motocross. I'm probably one of the only 3 people at my school, and I just wanted to be different, and I just love meeting the new people and stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it? It's a cool atmosphere, and definitely a cool group of people that follow the race scene around. Yeah,
we've met heaps of people so far, just doing motocross and meeting people at tracks and stuff.
Yep. So did your parents race, or either of your parents? Is that how you got into it, or was it just something that you wanted to do?
No, they didn't do any sort of motorbikes or anything when they were younger. They bought me a PE30 when I was younger, and I kind of had a bit of a crash on it and just said no to motorbikes for a few years.
Yeah.
And we just bought like a little farm bike, and I started wanting to race and getting a bit better, and bought an 85, and then just rode some tracks and stuff, and then Dad just sort of put some numbers on the bike when we started racing.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Do you do any sort of bush riding as well, or is it all motocross?
All motocross, but I do like a bit of bush.
Yeah.
It's not too bad, like the off-road stuff.
Yeah. So are you going to do any off-road races in the future as well?
I don't know. I'd like to give it a try, though.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, it's not something that I'm into, but I know a lot of guys that do it, and it definitely helps skill-wise for motocross as well.
Yeah.
What are your goals? Do you have any goals in the sport that you want to achieve?
Kind of just want to leave like a mark, leave my little print in the sport.
Yep. How so? Talk me through it.
Like, I want to try and get up to the pro level.
Yeah.
And just see how far I can go, and just try hard and try and get up there.
The first step is winning a state title, and you're doing well with that so far, leading the championship in the 85cc big wheel C grade class. So you're off to a good start.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up the interview, is there anyone that you'd like to thank?
I'd like to thank my mum and dad, Bairnsdale crew, the Smiths family, and the Galotz family.
Yep.
And Adam Rickus and Ginny Rickus and all that from down here in Bairnsdale.
Yep.
And Dale Thomas from Doyle and Shields. He helps me out a lot. He gets me all the stuff for the bike in time. And he helps out a lot.
That's cool. Sounds like you've got a fair few people behind you, which is, it's great to hear.
Yeah.
Well, thanks heaps for coming on the podcast, Kade. It's been, awesome having you on, and I'll look forward to catching you at Winton, I think, is the next round. You're going to obviously do the rest of the rounds?
Yeah, we're definitely going to do the rest.
No, awesome, man. Well, I'll look forward to seeing you there.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, the final rider that we're going to have on tonight for the Peter Stevens Vic MX Recap show is Memphis Trevena. Welcome to the podcast, Memphis. How are you going?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Pete. How are you going yourself?
Yeah, I'm going really good, mate. It's been great chatting to a few riders tonight. I had Kenny Watts on the line earlier as well, so we spoke about the event. So it should all turn out to be a great episode.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yep. So before we get started, for the listeners, obviously you and I know each other quite well. You're a Mental for Moto rider as well. But how old are you and whereabouts are you from?
So I'm 16 years old. So it's my last year in juniors, and I'm from Phillip Island, Victoria.
Yep. So you're fairly local to the Korumburra area where we just had that last round?
Yeah, that's sort of where that's probably my first racetrack that I joined up to a few years ago on that. So
yep.
Yeah, that's one of my tracks I've been to. On a few laps around there.
Yeah, I bet. And you've been around the sport for quite a while now, and you're currently also racing in the MX3 class at the moment in the Pro MX Championship. So how many times have you raced the Victorian Motocross Championship so far?
So I think my first actual year that I did the whole series was 2016. That was in 2018. Sorry. So the 65C grade, I got second that year.
Yep.
Overall, and finally, that was with the boys that we're racing now, Joe Dunn and all that. And then 2019 went up to B grade, and then the next year went up to A grade. So I've been racing that round for that series for probably 6 years now or something.
Yeah,
6 years.
I was talking to Kenny earlier. It's a pretty stacked class or classes that you race. So you race the 125 A grade class and the A grade 250 junior class. But there's a bunch of riders in there, like between Seb Bartlett, Jesse Kolb, Joe Dunn, yourself, Noah James, Noah Rochow, Kai Little. Did you race all those guys as you came through the ranks?
I've raced Job for a long time. I've raced Jesse for a fair while. Raced a few of the other boys a fair bit. A couple of them that like Kai and that from interstate, I believe. I didn't really race them before this season, but it's kind of cool to not know all the names, and then you sort of get there and there's other good dudes too.
Yeah, mix it up a little bit. So, we'll start off. The 125s was on the Saturday, so...
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so the 125s was on the Saturday. So, talk me through your races on the Saturday. How did that go?
So it was a pretty good day. It was a consistent day. So I think it was fourth in the first moto, and then which was still a pretty good start to the day. I think I got a pretty decent start. It wasn't the best start, but probably, it was pretty good. Fourth overall.
Yep.
For that race. And then I think I did. No one was the lead boys were just in front of me, but no one made any mistakes or anything like that. And then it was the lappers. There was a fair few lappers that sort of caught us all up in that too, because of the track was still quite wet, obviously. So there was a few crashes and that going down. And then the second race was a little bit better of a start, actually. I think I was second out of the corner.
Yeah.
And then I think I got past, and then a few laps later I laid it down in a rut. And then I think I got past there, and I just finished the race in fourth, and so it was all right. And then the last the last moto of the day, I changed my gate. I was like going far outside all day, and then I kind of went to like maybe 25th or something gate.
Yes.
Because the start straight dried up a bit, but I didn't really get the best jump, and I kind of got swallowed up because there was more riders around me. But yeah, that one was still pretty decent. So 4.44 for the day.
For a fourth overall?
Yep, for fourth overall.
Yeah, well, you've, like we said, you've raced the national circuit, and talking to Michael Burns on the weekend as well, we were sort of saying that the track on Saturday almost looked like a national prep. Based on your experience, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. I would definitely, like, if you look at the Australian Junior Motocross track last year, that was way more. Korumburra was way more of a racetrack and way more gnarly than that.
Yep.
But like MX3 wise than that, yeah, a hard pack track, yeah, I can see that.
Yep.
Just because of sort of the length of the ruts, how many ruts there were in a corner, like, you know, it was a proper racetrack, which is really good to see.
Yeah, do you like that technical sort of stuff?
Yeah, I do. I do really like. I do enjoy that kind of stuff because I think it separates the riders a lot more from a good rider that is really good to a rider that's, you know, still an A grade but not as good.
Yes, yeah.
Like, that's just my personal opinion, just a bit like Korumburra. So, like, in the first couple of rounds, there's a lot more kids that probably weren't as quick this weekend that were sort of up the pointier end a bit more.
Yep.
Just because of the track, you know, not being super gnarly and just kind of pretty fast and all that.
Yeah, well, that's all a matter of perspective. I thought Cobram was pretty technical as well. Maybe not as much as Outram, but
yeah, no, it was definitely a technical track. But in the morning, I mean, like, it wasn't as it was wet, but it wasn't as like there wasn't like heaps of ruts and that kind of stuff. Like, there was a few, and it was kind of easy for the smaller, lighter kids to get the power to the ground and that.
Yeah, I spoke about it with Kenny. It's got to be challenging to prep a track for the Vics because you've got to cater from, as we sort of said, 50cc all the way up to you guys in the A grade 250 class that also race on the national scene. So that's right. Yeah, definitely not easy, but I think they did a great job on the weekend with that because you know, even the 50 kids were getting around all right, and like you said, you had a great racetrack for you guys as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and the reason that probably is too because it's not like it wasn't a mudder.
Yeah,
like, it was a little bit wet in the morning on Saturday, but then the ground had that much moisture in it that they didn't really water until, you know, midday Sunday, and that wasn't even much watering going on. But that's where it's like that's where it's good because it is sometimes frustrating when you go to a track and they sort of looks like they have catered for the 50s and 65s and that.
Yeah.
Because like you just said yourself, they've got a lot of classes to cover and they've got a lot of bike sizes, and, you know, at the end of the day, everyone's paying the same amount, so they've got to keep it friendly for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. So moving on to the Sunday, you raced the 250 A grade class. Talk me through those races. You seem to be a little bit spicier on the Sunday. You were definitely a little bit more racy, it looked like. Yeah,
definitely. I had a good night's sleep, had some pizza for dinner, and just stayed at the track and I just felt good, to be honest. I started the day off pretty decent in practice. I just sort of, cruised around and felt pretty fast, and I thought, it's going to be a good day and that. And then first moto of the day, I think I was about third out of the first corner, and then I made a couple passes. I think this was the first moto. Yeah, I made a couple passes and I got to the lead for a couple laps or something like that.
Yep.
Then I stalled it. I stalled coming out of one of those really long ruts, and because I lost all my momentum. The rut was quite long, and I just sort of like paddled through it almost. Yeah. So I was going from a stationary to trying to get on the power, and then it was just finished the race in fourth, and which was a good start to the day. You got to to get a good result overall. You got to start the day well, because otherwise you're just losing out on a lot of points and that. And it's just makes your day a lot harder.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and then the second moto was pretty decent. I got to a pretty good start also, and then I was running second, and then I had good speed in that race. Like Seb wasn't getting away in that, and I don't know about behind me, but I just sort of came into one of those that little corner, that left hander that had an anthill on it.
Yes.
And I just sort of got on the brakes quite hard. I was coming in quite fast, and my rear end kind of got into the air a bit, so I couldn't really brake that much. And then I just kind of like had to sort of like jump off my bike, and I sort of jumped over the anthill, and then I got back on my bike and was in fourth after that. And then the boys were sort of gone after that. And then I laid it down with 2 corners to go. Just, there was a lap of it. I wasn't really sure what he was doing. I just changed up my line and just lost a bit of concentration, but that didn't cost me anything, so that was good. And then in the third race, I got up to a pretty good start too. I think about second place around the first corner, and then second or third place, and then I sort of just sort of jumped in behind Seb, and then just rode my own race, and it was kind of hard because I started to water the jumps and that.
Yeah.
And because of the position of the sun, you couldn't really see some of like the straight line ruts and that were coming up to you. There's quite a few of them, but I just sort of rode smart and didn't really push it, but just stayed in third, and Joe was behind me, so that was a good race.
Yeah, did you feel the pressure? Because I noticed he closed the gap at one stage and then you pulled it out again, and it was actually really cool to watch. You guys yo-yoed a fair bit. Did you feel the pressure from Joe behind you?
I felt a bit of pressure, but he didn't, like in that motor, he didn't get close enough to the point where I could like sort of feel him, breathing down my neck.
Yeah, yep.
But I knew he was getting close, and I knew that I was going to have to wick it up a bit if I didn't want to let him pass, because he's a good racer and he's been going really good in that. But I knew there was a couple of spots on the track that he was faster than me, because we'd spoken about a few things and that. And I kind of knew he was there, but I was happy to gap it out though a bit more. I'm sure that end of the day and that, but I was happy with that.
Yeah, no, well, it looked like you guys were all the top 4, 5, 6 guys. It looked, even at the end of the day, like you were all still pushing. It didn't look like anyone sort of settled. So, no, it was good to see, and it was a good finish to finish off the day with a third place in the third moto as well.
Yeah, I was getting a bit sick of fourth.
I can imagine. So about 6 weeks before the first round of the Vics, you had a bit of a mishap, mate. What happened there?
So what happened was, that was just, I'm not exactly sure on the day, but yeah, like 6 weeks before the Vics. I broke my radius, my left radius, just behind my wrist at PBI Ride Farm.
Yep.
I just, so what kind of happened to me was a couple of things. It was pretty early in the morning. I had a different suspension setting and that, so it was a fair bit stiffer, but that wasn't why I crashed. But I just sort of, one of the jump faces, like it was sort of a bit rough, but I couldn't really, it being water, so it looked the same a bit. Yeah. And then there was a bit of a mud spot before it, and I kind of like went like leant back to do it, but I must have accidentally clicked false neutral. But it's right before the up ramp, and then at that point, obviously, my bike's not getting power to the ground, so I'm just like coasting, jumped the thing, and just like my front wheel dropped dramatically. Like I was probably nearly on a 45-degree angle or vertical or something like that, and I just had to let go of it. Like I couldn't save it, and I don't like it happened that quick that I don't really remember exactly what happened, because I don't try to think about it and stuff.
Yeah, of course, yep.
I just sort of landed, and like I didn't really land on my head. I just kind of like slid, but I dropped my arm out, and I was lucky. It was a big crash, so I was happy. Like I wasn't happy that I only broke my arm, but my first bone I've broken on a motorbike. But I was happy that I didn't do any other damage to anything else.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got up, I knew it was broken. I could just look at it, and it was deformed. And obviously, you came to the rescue after that, and we pulled out a bit of stuff, and yeah.
Nah, so the reason I asked was being your last round of the seniors. I know talking to you before the season, you had some goals to do quite well this year, but you've had to sort of race your way back to fitness. How's your wrist holding up now, and how are you feeling with the progress after the first 2 rounds?
Like my wrist is really good. Like the way I broke it was pretty. We sort of knew it was going to be, it's going to heal 100%, and there shouldn't be any issues. I've probably got 95% of my movement back. The lady said that I went and saw. She said it could be 6 months to get 100% back, but it doesn't affect me at all on the bike, obviously.
Yeah.
And no, it doesn't give me any problems at all. Actually, it's quite good. I'm really happy with it, because I just got a wire put in it, and they just pulled the wire out, probably 4 weeks or 5 weeks after surgery.
Yes. Or
something like that. And then it's held up well, actually. And then with my fitness and that, it was upsetting that obviously these things happen with the sport, but it kind of sets you that bit back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially after you put so much effort in. in the lead up.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And sounds silly, but if you're going to break a bone, that's probably the time to do it, like an arm or something, because I didn't miss out on any racing, really, except for a couple,
Yeah.
Didn't miss out on any series, but a couple races here and there, like the AMX Open and that, or the Wonthaggi Open, whatever they call it now. But, yeah, look, I'm good. I'm really good. I feel, 100% now nearly. So not like just speed-wise and stuff.
Yeah.
But I just probably just need that confidence, that little edge is coming back, so yeah, should be good.
Oh, well, like we already said, you had some good results. It got better over the course of the weekend. So what are your goals for the championship now? Is it just to keep improving and getting better each round, or do you actually have a goal that you want to achieve by the end of the championship?
So I've obviously had to change my goals a little bit, like you said. Not change them, I mean, but there's a bit extra now.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I want to be top 3 these next couple of rounds, and hopefully top 3 in both championships and the juniors.
Yes. Yep. And
then obviously the junior lights, got second in the first round, and hopefully there's a couple of tracks I like coming up, like Blue Rock and that. So
yep.
Just hopefully I can run it with Seb, and I want to win. I want to win a championship. So that's what I'm going to try and do.
Oh, fantastic, mate. Well, you're definitely well on the way, and you're riding well. Like you sort of said, it's just about getting that little bit of confidence and that race edge back. It's the sport, isn't it? It's not that easy, and confidence is such a big factor, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. The sport, it ain't easy, and like we were just saying then, because we're all going pretty good, the top bunch in A grade, like it is just really, obviously there's some riders are more developed than others and that, but like you just said yourself, it's it's just a confidence thing. It's hard to get, and it's easy to lose, but once you believe in yourself, like even this weekend, I just, I felt good, and I knew that, I just remember that what I've learned and that, and everyone's taught me stuff, and I just felt pretty solid.
No, fantastic, mate. Well, it's awesome to see you back on the bike and getting in the mix. Thanks heaps for coming on the podcast. It's been great to chat, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you again through the season, and we might even get you on again for the senior rounds as well, because you're, like you said, you're racing the junior lights there. So, thanks heaps for coming on and having a chat. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for getting me on. I always like coming and talking to you. You got a good point of view on heaps of things, so yeah.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, mate. Before we go, is there anyone that you'd like to mention or thank?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everyone that supports me and all that. Obviously, my parents do heaps for me. Like, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be doing anything like this, because money and time and travelling and that.
Yeah.
But so obviously, huge thanks to my family and them. Mental for Moto yourself, Moto National, Thor Australia, Pod Active, Alpine Star, Steve Parker, Malaya Dreaming, and Marriott, and just everyone else that chips in. Thank you.
Thanks heaps, Memphis. It's been great having you on, and we'll chat again soon.
Yeah, it's always good chatting with you, so thank you.
And that wraps up another episode of the Peter Stevens Vic MX Recap Show, presented by Moto Cred. Thanks again to everyone that's joined me for this episode. My co-host Kenny Watts, and my guests Willy Orders, Nayt Duggan, Kade Beane, and Memphis Trevena. Massive thanks to Peter Stevens and Moto Cred for all their support of the series, as well as the Inside Dirt Network for helping to bring this show to the listeners. And finally, much love to everyone that has tuned in to the Vic MX Recap show so far, provided feedback, and come and said hello to me at the races. I've been thoroughly enjoying getting amongst it at each of the rounds to date, and can't wait to see what the next round brings. The next round, of course, on that note, will be another senior round, which will be taking place at Ballarat. On behalf of Mental for Moto, I've been your host, Pete Wolf. Until next time, see ya.